Mr. Mina, thank you for being with me and welcome. To start with the first question, Honeycomb Path is in sustainable development, so of Pivovarna Laško Union, and you have committed to 6 UN global goals for sustainable development. You take this commitment, a brewery, a better world, very seriously. Why?
So thanks very much for interviewing me, and I apologize to the audience for not being present today. Yes, indeed, we do take the commitment to sustainable development very seriously. We are a company which has been around for 150 years, and I think we understand very well the impact that we have on our environment, but also on the communities that we work within. And I think it is in our interest to look after and to make sure that those communities thrive and the environment is protected. And I believe that that will ensure that we are around for the next 150 years.
Sometimes people perceive differently sustainable development and don't link it directly to down-to-earth goals, financial goals. How would you describe linkage between sustainable development and the strategy you have to your down-to-earth goals?
I think there is an absolute direct link, because I think if you understand about in order for us to stay sustainable, we have to be profitable, and in order for us to be profitable, we have to be sustainable. And I think the two link into one another very well. I think the critical thing for us is that of the 17 United Nations goals that were set, we adopted the 6. Mm-hmm. And the 6 that we adopted are the ones that we believe we can have a direct impact on and that we can influence. So if I take, for example, saving a reduction in water, mm-hmm. That I think is a positive thing for the environment, but it is also a positive thing for our organization. So what we've done with all of these 6 objectives that we have set is we have taken a view for the next 3 years of what these should look like, the goals that we want to achieve. And those 6 goals over the 3-year period are then translated into an action plan, which is our annual plan. And then those numbers that we have in the next year are set as a target for our organization. So I am set those targets, and so are my colleagues, and in that way they are made tangible for the organization to achieve.
Great. I am actually very happy that with a lot of our companies we are talking in these days about sustainable development, and it means a big change in transformation in companies. And your impact as being the leader of this company has a huge role on this and importance. And it is also said sometimes that organization can change only as much as its leader changes. And you brought something new, and from your experience now with Pivovarna Laško, and from meeting people, organizational culture, the entire history, how would you comment that?
So I do agree that I think that we have to set the role as leaders of an organization like this. I think we have to be the example, and we do influence people, because people look up to how we behave and they take their cues from those people. So I see our role as leaders, and my role together with my team, I see our role as being one of trying to provide tools for people to improve what they do, to set the context. What kind of an environment are we operating in now? What are the behaviors that will allow us to grow and survive and live in a culture where the environment is changing around us? But I also see our role as one where we should be the people who are removing obstacles for the people underneath us. So if you look at this culture, what I would like our organization eventually to get to is an organization where people in the lower end of the organization are capable of making decisions on their own without having to rely on a hierarchy. So I would like to empower them, give them the tools to make decisions on a day-to-day basis on the spot when they are confronted with issues, rather than wait, delay, and bring every problem that they have to the management to solve. And I think that is necessary in an environment where the speed of change is is happening so quickly, so rapidly, that we need to be in an environment where people are capable of behaving in that way. And I think we are the role models. We have to give the context to the organization.
Mm-hmm. But I will stick to this topic a bit more, because we know how big and strong power of habit is, and this is the company with a long tradition, with lots of employees who've been with this company for a long time, and changing habits, it's not an easy task for anyone, and I'm sure you're dealing with that as well, and these are precious experience to hear about, to share with us about.
So you are asking me a question about culture change. How do we change essentially culture or habits of people? How do we do that? It's not an easy job. I have to tell you, it is not. And I think, people will go through despair when we are going through these changes. There are people who will agonize and say, what is going on? I don't understand my role in this company anymore. I don't like the changes. And I think our role in that is, again, I think if we continually are communicating with people, so you ask me, how do I change the culture? A big part of it is about the communication. Explain to them what we are doing. Be transparent with people, and tell them that, things might get worse before they get better. But I think it's an open communication. You have to keep providing that context, and we have to take them by the hand and guide them through the process. And I think when people, it's very difficult when you are in the process to see what is really happening. Most cases, and I think if you read the book of Steve Jobs, he also says that things only make sense looking back. Mm-hmm. So you have to get through the tunnel, and then you turn around and you look back at the organization and you think, okay, now I understand why we had to do that. But in that process, you have to remove the fear of people, because it's always present. You have to communicate, do a lot of communication, and you have to have support mechanisms. So you need to have some kind of a program that engages with the people at the lower ends of the organization. And you also need a program that will engage with the people who are underneath the management level, let's say 1 level or 2 levels beneath the management. And it is about communication, and providing the context.
We will talk about today also about responsibility. Responsibility in Slovenia is a huge issue in every sense. And when you were talking about leadership and managing people, leading people, you emphasized many times the responsibility. We had a case in one of our trainings with managers when we were told that employees were offered quite higher salary, like 30% higher salary, but they turned it down and they couldn't understand why. But it was uncomfortable for them because they would have to take a bit more of the responsibility that they were used to having. Yeah. And how do you tackle that in your organization?
I think we have to understand that our organization is made up of a microcosm of society. And there are those people who are willing to take on more responsibility. Some people are willing to be comfortable in what they have. And if you go back to I think it was McGregor's theory X and theory Y. So back to the 70s when they started this thing about managerial behavior and so on. What they found is that some people, if they were given mundane jobs, they were very happy in those mundane jobs because they were able to solve their daily problems by doing those mundane jobs. They didn't want to be burdened. I think at a management level, for me, and when I look at our business, when I go home, my mind is still ticking. I'm still worrying about the business. I'm not worrying about it, but I'm still thinking about the business. So it's very difficult for me to switch off thinking about the business. There are those people who don't want that responsibility. And I think that's okay. That is absolutely fine. So I think, and it doesn't mean that those people in this context are not wanted in an organization. Quite the contrary. We need to have a balance of people who are willing to take more responsibility, and we also need to have some people who will follow some kind of routines, because that's what we are. That's the kind of organization that we have. So I think you need a mix of both.
Yes, I agree, but I think we are imbalanced in Slovenia a little bit. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Zooullis Mina, and I hope to see you soon again and to continue this great conversation.
Thanks very much. I hope that was helpful and useful. And thanks once again, and I apologize once again for not being physically present at the conference. Thanks a lot. Thank you.